Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Chris, and thank you, John, and the rest of the members and the trustees of the Community Systems Foundation. It's really a tremendous honor to work with you, to be here today to tell you about what we're doing in New York. I've been here since April, and it's really been very fun. It's a very, very fun and exciting organization with lots and lots of great history, as you know. But the most exciting part about working with CSF for me is really what we have yet to accomplish, what we still have to do. Because there's so much. I mean, every time we uncover the beginning of a solution to a problem, we uncover many, many more problems that we can address with our technology. And it's not just DevInfo. DevInfo certainly is the biggest part of what we do, but we have quite a lot of other tremendous innovations that I'm delighted to share with you. And so my job really today is to show you DevInfo 7, which is our most recent and very, very successful launch of the latest iteration of DevInfo. But I'd like to show you a couple of other interesting projects that we're working on. I'd love to be able to, I want to show you some ideas that maybe we can talk about over the course of the day that could affect maybe the future of how we're going to work in the next year or so. We'd like to show you a game that Haydee and our colleague Gary Goldman worked on and developed, and really with a tremendous vision for both the user and the developer. I think it would be really interesting for you to get your feedback on that as well, and Haydee will introduce that. I'd also like to show you an app that was developed by Lucas Winkler-Prince, who was with us over the summer. It's an app that we've developed for the iPad, and it's quite exciting. So that's really my job in these next 15 minutes or so to get you through that. DevInfo 7, well, DevInfo, the genius of DevInfo to me is the fact that we really honor our users by letting them visualize data the way they want to. We're not prescribing how they need to visualize and interact with their data. Oftentimes when you go into a program, they'll tell you that you need to look at a pie chart, or you need to look at a histogram, or you need to look at a line graph, or a radar chart. And that oftentimes will lead to many different interpretations of the data, as all of you have done research know. And it tends to be much more interesting for the researcher to look at the data, to interact with the data, to be able to see what gives the best story and the best interpretation for them, and then to use that in a presentation or a manuscript or in a way that will help communicate that data. And DevInfo that's really, to me, the genius of it. And we've added another feature this year into DevInfo, which is that we've allowed the user now to incorporate his or her own data into the data set. So we're not forcing them to create a DevInfo database, which we've done in the past. They can then now cut and paste from an Excel spreadsheet, or they can upload an Excel spreadsheet, or they can even type in their own data and have that be compared with the graphs and the visualization tools and the maps that make DevInfo so important to our users. And there have been many, many users. As Chris said, there are over 120 countries now, and when we talk to people that are using DevInfo, they're quite passionate about the DevInfo as a tool for them to communicate data. The other piece that we've added is the ability for groups, line ministries, and statistics offices to now share their data with the world in real time using SDMX. And what we allow them to do now is to register their data. They get a URL. It just is now accessible by organizations that are able to interpret SDMX. So let's say you make a graph on your website and you want to have it be updated in real time as the data is updated from that country. That's now possible using the resources in DevInfo 7. Another very exciting development there. So what I want to show you is a 4-minute video that we developed for the launch. It's going to repeat essentially what I just said a little bit, but it'll show you visually what I mean, and maybe that'll be a little more entertaining than just hearing me. So I hope the sound works okay.
DevInfo is a joint UN initiative helping countries, governments, agencies, and researchers track the Millennium Development Goals and other human development programs so you can monitor and evaluate data the way you like it. Smart visualizations help you measure progress that has been made so far, identify areas of need, and understand complex issues. Bring data to life through instant maps and other visualizations. Use DevInfo's 22 visualization tools to quickly and easily analyze trends and study correlations. Tap into one of the world's largest online collections of national and subnational human development data from more than 130 countries. SDMX Standard makes it easy to share data between agencies and helps make it available and more transparent so that your data can meet global standards. Ever need a quick map or graph in your report? Copy and paste your data into DevInfo to generate a visualization. With DevInfo 7, you can turn your data spreadsheet into a database and then create visualizations on the fly. Have fun while putting your data to work for you. National statistics offices, organizations, and all users can customize and publish their own database with built-in visualization and publishing features.
I'm working on a presentation for a conference next week, and I would like to generate a map with comparison of under 5 mortality rates. How can I quickly access recent data, create visualizations, and include them in my presentation?
Using the Quick Data search box, start typing the name of your indicator and area. Instantly visualize the results with a basic trend line for each country.
What mapping features are available?
Simply click on Visualize and then on Map. If you would like to focus on one region, such as Sub-Saharan Africa, you can change your area preferences directly from the visualization panel. You can also use the Google Map option.
Which other visualizations do you suggest?
The tree map chart is a great option. Each country is assigned a block relative to its weight, which is an easy way to visualize how prevalent the rate is in a specific country.
I'd like to put the map in my presentation. Is that possible?
Sure. Once you're happy with your visualization, you can share it on your favorite social media site or click download.
I've also collected my own data. Can I generate the same type of visualizations?
The new My Data section allows you to copy-paste your own information or upload it from an Excel document. As we approach 2015, more and more countries are progressing towards achieving the Millennium Development Goals. Through its easy-to-use technology, DevInfo is helping development professionals assess progress, strengthen their efforts, and face pressing global challenges. From measuring aid effectiveness to monitoring healthcare issues, from emergency preparedness to promoting gender equity, from environmental issues to education, you can customize DevInfo to meet your unique data and dissemination requirements. DevInfo 7 takes what you have and shows you what you need. No more complex databases or complicated data calculations. DevInfo 7, bring your data to life.
So we can make this available to anybody that would like it. It's up on our website. We have, so we'll be delighted to share that with you. And then I wanted to show you a couple of other very interesting projects that are coming out of DevInfo. We've recently done a project called the Moda Project with Unicef. And the reason I want to show it to you is that it's innovative for a couple of reasons. One, to me, this is the future of academic publishing, in a way. So, you know, all of us get journals. We get the journal delivered to our home, or we go to the library to read it. And you're reading away, and you're looking at graphs, and then you maybe photocopy it and put it away, or you get a PDF of it or something. What Moda does is it takes the graphs and charts and makes them interactive. So you've got the, you have your scholarly narrative, and you have your graphs and charts there, and I'll show you a couple. To let you interact, unfortunately, let me see if I can minimize this. Well, let me see if I can find one. I'd like to back to the single country. For some reason, there we are. So if you change to another country, for example, in this manuscript, virtual manuscript, you'll see entirely different results depending on the country. You can interact with your graphs and charts in a much more dynamic way using this Moda. So that's one innovation there. The second one with Moda is that instead of looking at a single variable that affects the lives of children, they're looking at a child as really a holistic entity. The entire child is really what Moda is about. So if we are looking at unvaccinated children, or children that are susceptible to polio, or children who live with dirty water, or exposed to violence, and then try to intervene with that, once we've finished with the intervention, the child is still left with other deprivations that could affect how well they grow up. And what Moda is trying to do, it's called multi-dimensional deprivation analysis, is looking at deprivations in the context of all of the deprivations a child might have, and really targeting children that suffer multiple deprivations with resources to try to interact in a more holistic way. So rather than just looking at unvaccinated children, we're looking at children who are at risk, and at risk for a number of different reasons. And so Moda has gotten a lot of attention within Unicef, and I think we'll hear lots and lots more about that. And it's led to the development of what's now becoming a new tool that Unicef would like us to build for them, to be able to take into DevInfo these multi-dimensional results, but also to apply them to bottleneck analysis, demand and supply problems that are causing bed nets not to be able to reach children who are at risk for malaria, for example, or looking at education as a possibility for children who are trying to get to school and teacher never shows up. And so we're looking at what the demand and supply problems are that are preventing these indicators from getting better. And so we will then combine Moda, this multidimensional analysis, with the tool that tells us what the demand and supply problems are, with another tool that will tell us what the outcomes might be. We're thinking about other tools with costing analysis to try to let somebody who's making decisions about allocating resources have a really rational way that's based on data to be able to make decisions that are going to really help the lives of children in their communities. So that's something we're going to be working on very intensely over the next year, and next year at this time when we come and address you, we're going to show you that, and I think it'll be very impressive for you, because I think it'll change how how development is done in the world one day. It's very, very powerful. We're also doing quite a lot of work in aid effectiveness, which is really building dashboards to let countries see where the aid is coming in, but then compare it to the outcomes, to the indicators that the aid is targeting to try to affect. And we'd like to do that in a place so that we can have a very transparent, accountable way for countries to be able to interact with aid. We're doing a lot of work with mobile now. As Chris mentioned, we're doing SMS collection in Afghanistan, in Mauritania, in Afghanistan to target polio, in Mauritania to target other unvaccinated children. So we're sending people out, and every time they vaccinate a child, the child gets a little identifier, and so we can now track the vaccinated children across Mauritania using new technology. And we're building in new mobile for development tools. It's a very important area that we're growing into. We're doing quite a lot of work now in game development, and so I wanted to show you, or I actually would like to ask my colleague Haydee to come up and talk to you about a new game that we've developed that's called, it's a Mancala, an interactive Mancala game. And we're very excited about it. Let me just pull it up here. And you can see it. Sorry? Yeah.
So, like Chris was saying, Gary Goldman, who's the research associate in New York, and I came up with Our World. It's a new Mancala game for development. And a little bit of how we came to create this game is there was the United Nations Alliance for Civilizations put out a call for game and developers to create an app to help intercultural dialogue. So we shared this with Chris, and Chris answered and said, you know, Dr. Goodman came up with this idea of the Mancala model, and you should take a look, it might interest you. So based on Dr. Goodman's thoughts, Gary and I took a stab at it, and this is what we came up with. So that's the context. The objective of the game is to, a little bit about Mancala first. It's a simple board game. It really needs no technology to play it. It was created in Ethiopia in the 16th century. It's originally played on the ground with clay, and you just basically trace the slots with your finger, and then you get some rocks, and that's all really you need to play. And the objective is to capture the most stones in your own Mancala, which are the slots at the end of the board, which you will see in a short bit. And it's good for memory and problem solving, and in our case, for learning about development. So just in case, are most of you familiar with Mancala? No, see some no. So just, this is a short video on okay. Oh. Great.
Yeah.
So how the game works is you click on a slot and then you start moving the stones around. And like you see, you capture, every time you go by your own Mancala, you capture a stone. And then you have to play until all the stones have been captured. And then if you pass by your own Mancala, you capture. If you pass by your opponent's Mancala, you don't capture anything. So it's really simple. This is, of course, it takes strategy to know that to capture the most stones in your own Mancala with the least amount of moves. So based on this, our game, the point is to understand what hinders and strengthens development, to facilitate intercultural dialogue, because the call for this game was to promote intercultural dialogue, educate players about life in different regions, and to understand the interdependence of development factors. So in this game, you have 2 players, and since it's an app, you won't have 2 physical players, but you get matched with somebody in another part of the world. So here's where the intercultural dialogue starts to play in. You're matched with somebody you don't know from a completely different side of the world. And you have 36 stones in total, like the regular Mancala game, but you have 12 colorful stones and 24 black stones. And here's where we start to learn about development. So you have development enhancers, and these are the colorful stones. And these are the things like the word means. These are the things that promote development. So you have capital, democracy, education, employment, gender equity, health, the things that you want to increase. And then you have the black stones, which are the development minimizers, things that block development, factors that block development, like gender inequality, HIV, hunger, illiteracy, pneumonia, poverty, racism. So the goal of the game is to capture only the black stones. So you want to leave the colorful stones on the board. So how do you do this? Once you're signed in, for example, if I was playing, you say, I'm a woman, my name is Haydee, 25 years old, from the US. And then the person who I'm playing against will make their own profile. And my information will appear at the bottom of the board. So if I'm playing on my iPad, it will appear on the bottom of the iPad. And that is my side of the board.
You can also play against the computer.
Oh, of course. If you're playing one player, then you just play against the computer. So you move the stones around, you keep capturing the black stones, and if you pass by your own Mancala, as I mentioned before, you capture a stone, and if you don't, then you just skip it. Again, for those of you that are familiar with Mancala, this is easy. If you capture a black stone, then if you fall on a stone on your side, if a black stone falls on your side of the board, and on the opposite side of the board there's also a black stone, then you capture those two stones and they go directly into your Mancala. And then if you fall exactly on your Mancala, then you get to take another turn. And then you repeat until you've captured only the black stones. And that's really, and this was just a new idea we developed, but that's the first stage of this game. Then the second stage, or the more advanced version, would be since stage 1 is more of an information, you're learning about development. Then for stage 2, it's how can I apply what I have just learned? Or how can my skills about development help me win in the Mancala game? So in stage 2, all the stones would turn clear. And in order for you to capture the stone, you have to decide whether health is a minimizer or an enhancer. And until you accurately say if it's an enhancer or minimizer, you cannot capture it. So if you say, health is a minimizer, then you skip a turn. So you create your profile, 14 years old, female, USA, or 41 years old, female, Benin. And at the end of the game, you would see this sort of profile. So you would get something targeted to your specific profile. So if you're a 14-year-old girl in the US, you would get the HDI for the US, then mean years of schooling, because you're a 14-year-old girl, and percent of women in parliament, something targeted to you. And at any point of the game, you can click on any of the stone and learn about that particular enhancer or minimizer. So if you were to click on health and you're in the US, you could see an indicator related to that factor. So for example, you could see data on HIV in the US, HIV prevalence. And then you would get this sort of dashboard. This is really exciting. And we're using GNI as a measure of development, which could be debatable, but you use GNI and then you can match it against all the factors that you have that either enhance or minimize development, and then select the region that you're interested in. And then of course, today everybody shares everything on Facebook or Twitter, and you're really proud of the score you just got because you beat your friend or somebody that you've never met, or the computer. And you can share it through email, through Facebook, or Twitter. And you will have the chance to link to any of the DevInfo databases to learn about any other indicator you would like that you just learned about in the game. The added value is encouraging intercultural dialogue, visualizing development with DevInfo through our interactive features, understanding that your situation is not necessarily the same across the world, so you learn about the elements that differ by geographic location, and learning about what hinders and fosters development. And that is our world Mancala.
Thank you. It was fantastic. I wanted to also tell you about an app that we've developed under the vision of Lucas Winkler-Prince, who was with us over the summer, but in collaboration with Gary and with Haydee and John Toner, who's with us, and Stacy Pothoff, and really the whole development team in India. And so it's a Fact of the Day Explorer. And so what I'll do is I'll just pass it around and let you play with it, and just ask that you can give me back my iPad.
You want to show it?
I don't know if I can. Yeah, I'd love to show. And then, just what I would leave you with is that we have many, many more projects. We've just sort of, in a way, given you some of the big highlights. We've showed you some of the highlights of what we're doing, but we've also done quite a lot of work with census, for example. And And we've done seminal work in India with the census. You can imagine how challenging that is. But really, when it comes to disseminating census information, here we go. So this is it. This is the Fact of the Day Explorer with very great, lots of gratitude to our enthusiastic and really quite brilliant interns and staff. What they've done is they've decided to give us a way of interacting with Millennium Development Goals. The colors here are sorted by Millennium Development Goals. So you can see that the color is associated with eradicating extreme hunger and poverty, increasing primary education, increasing gender equality in women, color-coded. And so if you'd like to see HIV and AIDS, you can press a red number and you'll get the fact of the day with respect to the HIV and AIDS. And so it'll give you a fact, it gives you the source, and if you're interested, you can link back and interact with the data. Quite a wonderful tool. You can sort it by Millennium Development Goals, you can have it randomized. We're thinking of ways that you can make it more interactive and fun for us, but this is the app. So I will still pass it around. You're still welcome to interact with it and have some fun with it. If you have feedback, if you have ideas for it, we're very interested in hearing about that. So I will leave you with that. Do you want to use my computer, John?
I can plug in mine, maybe.
Perfect. Great. Yeah, so I'll leave you with that. And what I would like to just say is that, please come up to me or John or Chris at any time during the day today, and you can ask us about any of our other projects. We're very passionate about them. We're very excited about them, and very happy to discuss them.
Well, it's a tough act to follow, but I'm very happy to be able to do that. Some of you I met 2 years ago when I was the director of the DevInfo support group, and I was here for my first CSF board meeting. I'm happy to be back, not as associated with DevInfo support group per se, but as one of the 2 new trustees. So it's my honor to be here today as a trustee, and I'm looking forward to working in this capacity with all of you in the organization. As Chris mentioned, I left formally DevInfo support group to go back to school. So everything that I've just seen in the last hour or so is really exciting to me. It's exciting to me because I'm looking at it as new ways to engage my students in development. I left the world of international development as a practitioner, but certainly as an educator, this is paramount. This is what we need to be talking about in my classes. I'm working now in an international school in Bangkok, teaching what we call humanities, social studies, development, geography, and all of the things that we've been looking at the last few minutes. So DevInfo 7 came out, and it's the first thing I want to show my students. Not to tell them what's going on in the world, but let them have it. Let them learn about development themselves and create something, hopefully solutions to these issues that we face. So it's exciting. The games, the apps, and everything that's happening is fantastic. So I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be a part of the organization in this way. Chris and Chris have asked me actually to talk about something that's quite close to my heart. Prior to my work with DevInfo Support Group, I was with the UN and with Unicef and UNESCO. In that work, I was working on education, particularly education data. This doesn't seem to yet be working. That's it. And I came onto DevInfo really looking for solutions to provide ways to report, to talk about, and to think about education data. When we were doing that, we realized there's issues. And many of those issues relate to, not my email, in fact, but that's what I want to show you about. Where we get education data, where it comes from. One of the challenges we have in the field of education is not the global number, not the national number, but the number of children in and out of school in a particular village, or a particular city, or a particular province. And speaking with Chris, speaking with colleagues around the world, in fact, we heard a very consistent message, and that message was, we don't have good tools to collect information. We don't have good processes and systems to bring that data from a school to the district, to the province, to the capital in a timely way to make decisions that affect our world in education. This is something that's very much connected to DevInfo, but it gets at not the reporting issue, but the data collection issue. How do we get the data up through the system, make it useful to the people who are making decisions about it? Education is very interesting. It's not the only sector in development that needs this kind of work, but I think there's some opportunities in education that are make this a nice starting point. One, education, as you probably know, is very well structured. There are schools. There's people responsible for collecting information and sending it to usually districts, district offices, send it up the system, and it's very well structured at a country level. Maybe different than a health information system, which tends to be a little bit more scattered by delivery points and other issues. So this is a great opportunity. There's also a critical need. If you think about the number of children in the US, the number of children in India, it's a big group of people who we need to understand where they are, what they're doing, how they're moving through the system or not. So I think there's a critical need there. When I was working with UNESCO in data, we would go talk to countries like Pakistan. And we'd talk about their data and ask them, what are the issues you face? What's the challenges you have? And oftentimes, they would have 4 numbers, 4 different data values to represent their enrollment rates, for example. And they would say very honestly, we don't know which number to trust. We have 4 different sources of data, 4 different calculations. Our system doesn't give us what we need. So what was the system? Stacks of photocopied forms that someone in a school would fill out, pass them up to someone in a district who would collect and collate and bring together. And 2 years later, that data would be in Islamabad, calculated. There'd be one number, and it didn't really help anyone up and down the system. The provincial planners couldn't do anything with the data. They never got it back. The district planners never saw their information. Again, it was that one-way stream of information. Photocopies like this times 10,000 schools or 50,000 schools, you can imagine. So this is a very exciting initiative that has blossomed from some work in DevInfo, I think, but it's very different from DevInfo. It's a chance to provide a tool that is very much an education management system to begin to help countries collect information and bring it up and give it to the people who need to make decisions with it through that process. It's called OpenEMIS. The EMIS is the Education Management Information System. And the open very much relates to how the system will be provided. Free, open source, as DevInfo, something that's not being sold on the market but given. Open in the sense that it can be adapted, it can be customized, it can be tailored to particular countries. So I think it's a very exciting initiative that's being coupled with DevInfo in very important ways, but it is very different. A couple of things that I wanted to just highlight here, and I'll also show you a very short video. One is that this is a system that's being endorsed by UNESCO. UNESCO, in terms of education development, has the mandate to very much support education development around the world. So to have an endorsement from UNESCO, I think, is a fantastic achievement by CSF. It means that as a minister may compare different systems, they see that stamp of approval, and I think that will go a long way in terms of getting this, this tool in place and being used. So this is, I think, a very important one. It's integrated with DevInfo in that once data is in the system, DevInfo technology can be used to disseminate data, to visualize data, as Chris have shown. So those wonderful maps can be applied here, but all the way up and down the system as it's needed. At the district level, you can look at where your schools are located. At the provincial level, you can see where there's pockets of inequities, where we need to make decisions to take action. So I think that in that regard, this is a great synergetic opportunity to build on what we've done with DevInfo, but to really fill a very important need in the education system to help build better data collecting systems and better reporting systems. So I won't say much more than that. I want to show about a 2-minute video that was produced again by our team. I think perhaps also by a fantastic intern who came to CSF and did great work and left us with, amongst other things, this video on OpenEMIS. As it starts, I'll tell you, this initiative is being run out of the office in Singapore, but of course it's a collaborative project with many. So the team in Singapore has been working very hard on this product, and very happy to say that only very recently UNESCO has given its final endorsement to release the tool. So the work has been going on, and finally we have a nice stamp of approval from UNESCO to go forward, with many countries interested in taking this up. So in the next few months I expect there's going to be some very exciting action. In Asia, countries like Mongolia, Laos PDR, Papua New Guinea are ready to move ahead. Jordan, countries in the Caribbean and others are very excited to begin to pilot the tool and to take this on as a new opportunity to improve their systems of data collection. So this is an exciting moment. It doesn't mean that there's a new stream of funding available now that UNESCO has given its approval. As you may know about UNESCO, they don't have any money. But I think what's exciting about this is an opportunity now to work at a country level with country partners to begin to really improve systems of data collection and reporting. So with that, I'll close to pass back to Chris to say a few words as we wind up this portion.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Chris and Haydee. I just want to close with a couple statements about how excited I am about what's happening for the next 12 months or so. We see these opportunities to broaden our portfolio beyond what we've been doing in DevInfo, but using the partners that we have in DevInfo to look at ways of new innovations going further and making more inroads into what's going on. So as we're growing, we're also having new technology partners. We have a partner who signed with us to be working in Africa as an African program director. He's based in Johannesburg. His name is George Tadonki, and we're very excited about having him on board. He's comes from Cameroon. He's an interesting family. Comes from a family of 100 children, 10 mothers, and 1 father. And of those 100 children, he's the only one who went beyond primary school. And he got his Ph.D. in a French university in geography, and has been an editor and teacher and research person within his first part of his career, and then went on to be within the UN system a director of groups that are involved in emergency situations. And he retired from that, and is now working with us in building a program around his interests in moving Africa forward. We also have a new initiative with a gentleman and his company in Brazil. His name is Lucio Gonçalves, thank you. Fittibaldi is his middle name. Lucio is joining the team through a great interest in using mobile technology to change society's impressions of what's happening in real time. And his understanding of DevInfo has been as a user. He was working for the UN before he retired from that, and now he's working in a private company, and we have a technology partnership with him. So beyond our base in Delhi, where we have had a lab for many years, we now have our lab in Singapore, and then these two new technology partners that are coming on. And we find that as we're working with this, that this is a good way for CSF to expand its reach, and a good way for us to get more people involved in the innovations that we're looking at. So we're very excited about that opportunity, and if any of you have ideas about that level and areas for involvement, we would be very happy to talk about how we've been setting these up and how we might get some more on board. So we're very excited about that. So thank you for your attention, and we've run over a little bit. Sorry for that. I think we started a little bit late, but we went a bit long. So let's have a time check and maybe shorten our break a bit. And back to Sandy.
Thank you very much, Chris. Yes, we are running a bit behind. Let's see, we're scheduled for a 15-minute break. Let's see if we can make it a 10-minute break. Thank you very much to the entire team who brought in. It's very nice. Okay, I'll see you back here in 10 minutes.
Here's my order.